Hey guys, it's Phoebe and welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be reacting to some more scary animations. I'm just kidding, everybody. This is my phone flashlight. So we're gonna be reacting to some more scary animations today, since you guys loved my last video. But that's enough said, let's get straight into the video. The first video we're gonna be reacting to today is called A Close Call by Llama Arts. So let's get straight into it.
I had just reluctantly returned home from an extended vacation trip to Japan, after experiencing delicious food beyond compare, a beautiful country, and spending time with amazing people. Needless to say, I was a bit depressed about coming home. On my first day back home, I went straight to my bedroom and passed out before doing anything else. Rather, I didn't have the energy to do anything else. It was probably for that reason that I failed to notice subtle hints that my home was not as lonely without me as I believed.
Is being considered lonely, not lonely, a leaking tap? In that case, I'll be right back.
Hours later, I awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of scuttling noises and the floorboards creaking. Understandably confused, I got out of bed and made my way into the hallway that was connected to both the living room and kitchen. Cautiously, I crept my way through the darkness, groping the wall next to me for balance in my tired state as I trudged forward. I, however, made the fatal mistake of stepping onto one of the loudest boards in the hallway, alerting whoever or whatever was lurking in the shadows of the next room. I paused, as did—
Is that death? My guy's gonna die. If I've ever seen death in The Sims, that is definitely him.
the entity in the next room, before a whoosh of air was heard as they retreated into whatever crevice they had come out of.
Why in every single story we're reacting to, everyone farts? Did everyone see death just fart? He left the meanest, stinkiest fart behind that couch and skedaddled.
Taking a nervous gulp of air, I walked into the living room and turned on the nearby lamp that dimly lit up the room. Looking around, I spotted not a soul, but rather some of my furniture was disturbed. What's more, a couple of my kitchen cabinets were slightly ajar. Bewildered, but with my guard up, I went over and closed them all before readjusting my furniture, by which point I had relaxed. I chalked up the odd noises and movements to my jet-lagged brain and shrugged, deciding to just head back to bed. I wish the story ended there, but I was not so lucky. Before entering the hallway to my room, I saw that the large metal covering to the air vent above the couch was missing. Peering up at it, I mumbled, "What the?" before a crooked face filled with abject disdain for my existence popped into view. Startled, I fell to the ground and began crawling away, as I heard the man begin screeching incoherently.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, he said screeching, and that's all I could imagine is him lifting up his head with a chicken face on it and yelling like a pterodactyl. I'm sorry.
As he dropped down onto the couch. I watched in horror as his joints cracked beneath his raggedy hoodie and heavily stained jeans. He stared at me, silent now, before brandishing a knife out of his back pocket and pointed it towards me.
"My house now! Mine! Mine! You left it! It's mine!"
He shouted with a slurred voice as he charged towards me. I hurriedly crawled towards my room and slammed the door behind me and locked it as he started jabbing his blade into the door, yelling at me to die. Shakily,
Die. Die. My house. Get away. Imagine. You come home from a trip and a crazed pterodactyl purple man in a hoodie attacking you with a knife out of your kitchen, yelling for you to leave after he's crawling around in the roof like some kind of rat.
I called the police and sobbed as I told them what was happening. Thankfully, I was told a patrol—
Help! A pterodactyl rat monster is in my house. He's using my chopping knife to chop up my door.
car was nearby my neighborhood, and they would be at my house in minutes. I stayed on the phone and picked up a baseball bat just in case that deranged cretin broke down my door. A few horrendous minutes later, the police arrived, and after a quick but violent struggle, they managed to subdue the intruder. After locking him in the back seat of the patrol car, the cops investigated my house and found that the man apparently had been living there while I was gone.
He kind of looks like Dracula.
I don't say blah blah blah.
But not just that. Apparently, he'd been staying at my house without me noticing for a few months. According to the police, they found paper stuffed under the couch that was filled with nothing but incoherent ramblings about how he planned to kill me one day when the time was right. With the dates next to each entry
Did he see me? I can see him. My house now. Maybe a knife? Thursday 17th.
dating my trip to Japan
Pillow. When he sleeps? Struggle. No.
by an uncomfortable amount of time. Frankly, I'm happy to be alive and relieved that the situation was resolved so quickly. But still, I make sure to triple check the locks in my home after that little incident.
So Dracula or Death in his pterodactyl rat form was living in your house and you didn't even notice. The next story we're going to be reacting to is called True Yakuza Horror Story by 1C Entertainment. So let's get into it.
This story is on behalf of my friend. He was too scared to send it in because he's scared someone might find him. This story took place in 2020 in Seoul, South Korea. My name is Asahi for the time being, and I went to live in Korea with my wife. Or at least, that's what we were planning on. In the first few months of living there, I started working as a police officer. I got along with the other officers very well. I had a best friend named Yeonji, who was very superior to the rest of us. I was told that he resolved 21 crimes in just 6 months by himself.
Plot twist, he made all them crimes, so that's how he solved it so fast.
He was like an older brother to all of us. I realized he had missing pinky fingers, but I brushed it off, thinking it was just a disability. A year later, during September 2021, Yeonji retired as a police officer. I thought to myself that he had just found a better job or just wanted to live a life normally, but that wasn't the case. A month later, December 2021, me and a few other police officers were having a party to celebrate one of our senior sergeant's birthday. After drinking a lot, I was watching TV upstairs, away from the others. There was a news broadcast, and the news reporter said in Korean, 24-year-old criminal Yeonji Sung is reported on the loose after conflict between 2 rival gangs. If you see this man, please report immediately. Of course, I didn't believe what was going on. Honestly, I thought I was just too drunk to think straight, but all that changed in just a few hours. As time went past, it was approximately 2:30 a.m., and everyone was gassed out. It was then until I heard knocking from the front door. I couldn't be bothered to answer it, so one of the other officers opened it. A gunshot went off. All of us instantly woke up to it. As I looked towards the door, I saw the officer who opened the door, dripping with blood. As my vision became clearer, I saw a man around 6 foot 7 inches standing at the door. Of course, it may sound stupid, but all of us ran towards him. The man dropped his gun and judo threw one of the officers. He then began to beat the shit out of all of us. It was an unfair fight. I'd say it was about 1 versus 17. I could tell the man was trained in some sort of martial art. One of the other officers grabbed a bottle of beer and smashed it on his head. I was going to try and take him down, but then he put me in some sort of jiu-jitsu choke. I was out cold. I woke up on a hospital bed with my wife next to me. What happened? I said to myself. My wife then began to tell me everything. It was said that the man who attacked me yesterday was Yeonji, my own best friend. My wife also mentioned that Yeonji was a former Yakuza member who was caught for drug dealing in Japan. He then smuggled onto a boat to Korea. It was at that moment that I realized why he had missing pinky fingers. I was told that some Yakuza members that commit serious offenses must atone by cutting their pinkies off. This was known as Yubitsume, and apparently his name, Yon Jing Sung, was just an alias so that he wouldn't be caught. Although none of us found out his real name, we found out about his life before being a Yakuza. We were told that he was a good martial artist who was a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, and Judo. 2022, after this encounter, my wife and I moved back to the US. I farewelled my fellow police officers and asked them to keep safe. Even to this day, I wonder how Yonji is going.
Well, that kind of went into the direction I thought it would. The next story we're going to be reacting to is called A Fishing Trip by 1C Entertainment. So let's get straight into it.
This story took place in Sylhet, Bangladesh, and was experienced by my uncle, who was around 20 at the time. My uncle and 4 of my other cousins went on a fishing trip, and by the time they started making their way back to the village, it was getting dark. As there is very little street lighting in the rural areas of Bangladesh, and the journey back home was a few hours' distance, they decided to set up camp and continue their journey the following day. They decided that 2 members of the group would stay awake for 3 hours each and then rotate to keep watch over the fish and equipment as well as their own safety. My uncle was in the first group to sleep, so after 3 hours, he and one of my other cousins woke up to keep watch while the others slept. The cousin who was meant to keep watch with my uncle at the time was feeling very drowsy. My uncle requested that he got some rest and he could keep watch by himself. While keeping watch, my uncle heard a sound coming from nearby bushes and trees. Assuming it was a stray animal attracted to the fish, he went with his stick and poked the bushes, and the sound stopped. When he turned away, he heard the sound again and was curious as to what it was and where it was coming from. He went through the bushes and found a small clearing with a very tall tree. On further observation, my uncle noticed a figure of a woman sitting at the top of the tree. She had long, dark hair, which cascaded all the way down to the bottom of the trunk. She had pale skin.
I'm not even going to say who she looks like, but those of you who know, you know.
And was of a thin build. My uncle, who was a quick thinker, grabbed the woman's hair, as he knew she was not a human being, but a jinn. Jinn refers to a ghost or demon commonly seen in rural Bangladesh, and he knew if he did not act fast, he and the others were not going to make it to the morning. A jinn's hair is its weak point, and if a person can grab hold of it, the jinn is powerless and cannot harm the person. The woman instantly screamed when he grabbed her hair and started pulling away, but my uncle clenched his fist and did not let go. He knew if he did, he would regret it. The jinn begged and pleaded with him and said she would make him rich and powerful if he let her hair go. But my uncle clung on with all his strength. After a long time, the jinn gave up, and my uncle, who was really exhausted, fell asleep with his hands still clenched on the jinn's hair. He woke up in the morning and found all my cousins surrounding him, staring at him, looking very confused. When he looked up at them and asked why they were surrounding him,
They must have thought that my guy had to go take a pee-pee and he fell asleep on the tree.
they pointed at his hand. He looked down and saw a dead crow in his hand, jet black, like the jinn's hair he had been holding on to all night long.
Well, I can say with certainty that was not what I was expecting, but just for good measure, we're gonna watch another video in this episode since it already started playing. It's called Company. It's also by 1C Entertainment. So let's get straight into it. I feel like my commentary is a little bit dry today, but let's hope I can say something good about this company and these box-shaped PCs.
This story took place a few years ago when I was working at my old job in London, England. I was a manager there, and the company I worked for helped people gain skills and find employment. A woman came into the office, and the receptionist had her fill out the application form to complete the course. Part of the registration was made up of an initial assessment on the computer, which would determine the level the person was working at, so we could see their strengths and weaknesses. The woman was sat at the computer, staring at a blank screen for a long time, and it was getting late. As the office was closing shortly, the receptionist
She's probably sitting there in her mind like, fill in paperwork. Fill in paperwork.
asked the woman if she is happy to come back at a later date to finish the assessment. The woman did not respond and continued to stare at the blank computer screen. The receptionist then came to me and asked if I could speak to the woman and inform her that we are closing the office. I went over to her and asked if she's okay and let her know that we are closing shortly. She asked if she could speak to me privately. I accepted and took her into my office. The woman opened up and started talking to me about how her husband recently died and that he often visits her, especially at night. I thought these claims were extremely strange. I found myself just nodding and making minimal conversation as I wanted to get out of the office and enjoy the rest of my day. The woman then said something which made me freeze. She said her husband was now in the office with us. I noticed her looking over my shoulder, and I instantly felt the room get colder. I could feel sweat on my forehead, and my hand was trembling. I had never been so scared in my life. I quickly texted the receptionist under the desk and told her to come to the room and say there had been an emergency and I needed to leave. She listened, and the receptionist came to the room and told me I have an important phone call I couldn't miss.
OPW receptionist. She understood the assignment in seconds and rushed over so Crazy McGee can get out of the office with her crazy ass dead husband.
To which the woman replied, she is happy to wait for me. I told her the office is now closed and we need to leave the building as the cleaners need to come and do their job. She finally left the office, taking the coldness with her. I went to security and informed him to never let her back in if she was ever to come back, but she never did, and I never saw her again.
That is going to be it for today's episode. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. And I will see you next time. Bye.